Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, hi everyone. Today we're gonna continue working on this action RPG tutorial. I think this could be our last stream when we're working on this tutorial because it's almost ended. Oh, need to fix my camera. Okay, so yeah, let's just move on. Let me turn on the music. Okay, and yeah, let's...
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to part 22 for our Godot Action RPG series. This is the real final part. This time, I didn't forget anything. This will be the last video. And in this video, we're going to be implementing some simple sound effects into the game. And we're also going to be adding the flash animation for our player and our enemies. So let's get started. The first thing we'll do is start implementing some of the sound effects. And actually, I think my recording software is doing desktop audio, so I'm going to turn that down just a little bit so that we can hopefully make sure that these sound effects aren't too loud. Let's come into our player, and we'll add a new node, an audio stream player. And don't do audio stream player 2D. My understanding is that the difference between a basic audio stream player and the 2D one is that with a 2D audio stream player, you can have sound effects happen basically relative to their position in the world. So the closer you are to that sound effect, the louder it will be. And we don't need that for this game. So we're just going to do a basic audio stream player like this.
Okay.
And we'll come into our animation player. And on our attack down here, we can, let's zoom in just a bit. We can add a new track, do a new audio playback track, and select our audio stream player. Then we can come over to the first key, and we'll insert a key here, and then click on that key, and we need to tell it what sound to play. It's called the stream over here. And we can come into our music and sounds here, and we'll choose our swipe sound, this. Now you can see when we play the animation, it should play this sound effect. I'm gonna watch how loud it is on my recording software here. Okay, that was pretty loud. I'm gonna quiet it down just a bit. There, that should be good. Okay. Now we're going to do that with the other
and sounds nice.
directions. Add track, audio playback, add a new key, and then drag over our swipe sound effect again. And we'll do it with right as well. And we'll do it with up. There we go. We've got swiping in every single direction. We're going to add some sound effects to some of our actual effects as well. So come into your effects here, come into your enemy death effect. We're going to add a new audio stream player to this. Oops, I did 2D. Try this again, audio stream player. Do not do the 2D one. And we'll drag over the enemy die sound effect right here. And we'll check autoplay so that it plays automatically. We can close that. We'll come into our hit effect as well. Add an audio stream player, and we'll select hit and turn on autoplay on that as well. Now, if we play the game, we'll be able to run around, hear our swiping, and here a nice little hit effect and a death effect for our enemies. Hopefully that explosion effect isn't too loud in my recording here. It's pretty loud. I think I'm going to turn down my audio just a bit more here to try and help make sure that this isn't too harsh on you guys' ears, especially if you're watching with headphones. Okay, so we've got those in. Let's add in for our roll animation as well. So do roll down, come into here, add a track. We'll do an audio playback. We can select the same audio stream player for this, insert a key, and now we'll use the evade sound effect like this. There we go. Okay, and we can choose left. Follow the same process. Right. And one of the cool things about this is you can see the sound effect down here in the animation player. You can actually drag it around too, which is super cool to me. You can drag it around in your timeline and move the key. Okay, roll up. We got to do this one too. And there we go.
Okay.
Let's see. There is one more sound effect we want to do here. Let's see. Let's run the game first. And interesting. We should also have a sound effect when the player gets hit. Make sure that's working. Uh-oh. We've messed something up. Let's come into our attack. Let's see, we want to come into our attack down. And we want to go all the way to where our collision shape is disabled. our collision shape was being enabled because we had it set to this right here. So, well, you don't have to do that either. We could just go, we want to set this back to idle down anyways, and then we can just come into our sword hitbox and we can come into the collision and just disable it right here outside of the animation player. Okay, there we go. Now we can see the bats are damaging us. So there's one more sound effect we want to do, and it's when the player takes a hit. We want the sound effect to be, we'll have the hit effect still, but we want to layer another sound effect on top of it for when the player gets hit. Now, we could add a sound effect here to the player scene and have it play that sound effect when we take a hit, right? But the problem is with that is that if the player dies, it will destroy that sound effect player and it will cut off the sound effect. And so it'll destroy the node, it'll free the node when the player dies, and it'll cut off the sound effect. Now, there's two different approaches to this problem that people will use. I asked about it on Twitter a while back, actually. And the two main approaches that people will use is they'll actually have like a dying state for their character, and they'll put the character into that state while the sound effect plays, and then once the sound effect has finished, they will then destroy the character. And they'll just hide the character when it's in the dying state. Now, I don't really like that approach because I don't like to have the character actually in the world still, because then the enemies will still be trying to chase it and attack it and all these things. The other approach that you can do, and you can find ways to work around all those problems too, but I feel like there's a lot that you have to deal with, and I don't like to have to deal with all that stuff. So the solution that I came up with, well, that other people have come up with as well, is just to create a player hurt sound effect, like a scene for it, and then instance that scene into the game world. So if we create a new scene here,
Jesus
we can choose
Christ.
either node and do audio stream player, and we'll call this player hurt sound, and we can attach a stream player to it. So we'll grab the hurt sound effect here, attach it, and we can have it autoplay right here, and then we can just connect this audio stream player finish signal to a receiving method on here, and we can just choose cue free, and hopefully this will work. Scene does not contain a script. We shouldn't need to do a script. We should be able to, if we do connect, let's see.
You don't have
It
a
doesn't
script.
seem like we're going to be able to do this.
You need to create a
We
script.
could use an animation player too. I'm just going to attach a script to it. We'll save it inside of player right here. We'll attach a script to it. And then inside of our ready function here, we can just connect the signal manually, I think. So we'll say connect finished self cue free, like this. We'll just do that. This should work, I think. Connect returns a value. We can ignore that because we don't need the return value. Okay. Also, that's another thing to mention, is if you do have warning messages, they list them as errors, but they're just warnings. That's why it's yellow instead of red. You can click on these individually and then ignore them. So for example, with delta here, it's not being used in this argument. So you could put an underscore under it if you don't actually need to use it. Yeah, it looks like we no longer actually need that one in this case. So that's why they have the warnings, is so that you can see whether or not you still need them. Like the attack state doesn't need delta, the roll state doesn't need delta. So we can actually remove these from there. And there we go. If you want to clean up your warnings as well. And that's a good idea. I think we can just do an underscore on it, and then it will ignore, even though we're not using it, it will ignore that we're not using it like that. So you can go and do that with all of these different warnings that you get if you want to clean up your warnings as well. And that's a good idea. But here we go. We've got the player hurt sound. Now we can just come into the player. And when we take a hit right here on the player, we can we'll need to actually get access to it up here. So let's do const player hurt sound. We'll preload it, and we'll just come into player here and drag this scene, drop it right here. Okay, and then we can just instance it inside of our world. And we'll come into when we take a hit here, we'll say var player hurt sound equals player hurt sound dot instance.
No.
And then we can do get tree dot current scene dot add child. We'll add our player hurt sound. Player. We can just scene, drop it right here. Okay, and then we can just instance it inside of our world. And we'll come into when we take a hit here, we'll say var player hurt sound equals player hurt sound dot instance. And then we can do get tree dot current scene dot add child. We'll add our player hurt sound. Player hurt sound. I must have added an S to it up here. Let's remove that. What? Oh, it's in the variable, right? Okay, there we go. And I think since we already have it set to autoplay, that's all we need to do. Right? We turned autoplay on. Let's make sure that that works. There we go. So we're getting the player hurt sound, and on the last hit, you can see that it continues to play that sound. If we check our remote scene, we shouldn't see any of them in the world because they did manage to get freed when the sound finished playing. So that's what you can do for that situation. I feel like that's the way that I like to approach it. And everyone has kind of their different method. When I asked on Twitter, I got so many different responses for how to handle sound effects like that, and this is the one that I decided to go with. So there are other ways to do it, and they're not bad as well. So if you have a way you prefer, you can do that. So let's get started with the blink animation. So we're going to come into our player here. We'll come into our local scene, and we're going to add a brand new animation player. And the reason it needs to be a new animation player is because we want it to work on top of our player's existing animation player. So when we play this, whatever animation in this new one, we want it to play that animation on top of our old animation. So you can actually stack two, and you can be playing two animations at the same time, which is really interesting to me, actually.
Is it blink?
We'll call this our blink animation player. Like this, we'll give it two animations. We'll give it a blink. We could give it a start. Let's give it a start animation. We'll make this 0.2 long. And we'll also give it a stop animation. And we'll make this one 0.1 long. And this is going to be for our blinking. Okay? But we need to...
What the fuck, dude? Why are you doing so fast everything? It was easier before.
Actually... And this is going...
Stop. Okay, stop.
To be for our blinking. Okay? But we need to actually make the character blink. And you can do this by, there's a couple ways to do this. You can alter the modulate property by setting raw to true and then maxing out a bunch of these values. That is weird to me. That method also feels like it's kind of like finicky. But the other method you can do is by making a shader and using a material on the sprite. And I feel like that is the method that I would like to use because it's, first of all, it gives me the chance to talk about shaders and to teach you guys a little bit about shaders in Godot. We'll just cover the very basics though. So
let's go with
let's
shaders.
come into our player's properties. Well, click on the sprite. Come over and select the material and do new shader material. Okay, so we can attach a shader material. And then we want to click on this and we need to do a new shader. So we'll do new shader inside of here. Okay, and then click on that. And that will open up a little code box down here. And it's really great that the code is down here, because as we manipulate this shader, in fact, let's right click here and do edit. This will bring the shader so that
What?
all we see is the shader properties here. We're going to click these little object properties and do save as, and we'll just save this
What
in the default path.
the fuck is... Oh no.
Shader property.
Right. Shader. This one. Manage object property, or this one. What are you trying to save?
Properties here. We're going to click these little object properties and do save as.
Oh, come on. There is a button for that.
And we'll just save this in the default path, the res up here. We'll call this white shader. Let's see.
Oh, it's not shader.
White color shader.
What the fuck? The fuck is that? Shader, we have shader. No, it just... Oh, come on. Oh, okay. Okay, now.
White color shader. We'll save that, okay? So we've saved that shader now as a resource. We can use it in different places. We use the little icon right here for the shader. So in Godot, it has its own shading language. And this shading language is pretty easy to learn, but it is different from GDScript. So GDScript is based off of Python. Godot's shading language feels more like a conventional language like C, C++, or something like that. So although it's more simple than C++ in the way that it works, but you do have to define all your types. So the first thing we have to do is tell Godot what kind of shader this is. And you can see down here, it says expected shader type at the beginning. Valid types are canvas item, particles, and spatial. The particles are for your own particle shaders. Spatial is for 3D. The canvas item is for 2D. That's what we're going to be doing here.
Okay.
Shader type, and then you just type canvas item, and then you have to have a semicolon. Okay, so once again, this is different from GDScript where you don't need semicolons. We have to have one here. So then we need a function in here in this canvas type, and there are different kinds of shader functions, and they're listed in the documentation. The specific function we need is called a fragment shader. So void frag.
Holy shit.
Now void
Fuck.
just means that this function doesn't return anything. And this is a built-in function inside of the canvas item shader type.
Come on.
And basically what this does is this little teeny function right here, or 1.0, 1.0, 1.0, and 1.0, and then do a semicolon at the end. This is going to set every single pixel inside of, let's actually hide our, let's hide all these collision shapes here. It's going to set every single pixel inside of our image to this color right here. And this color is a red value, a red, green, blue, alpha. And so each of these values represents one of those colors, red, green, blue, alpha. So if we set our red to 1, our green to 0, and our blue to 0, but left our alpha at 1, we're going to get a red square, right? Because this color right here is just maxed out on red and nothing on the others. But we actually want to use white, right? Well, this isn't quite what we want because we don't want our character to become a giant white square when he's blinking, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new variable. We'll call this previous color, and we'll set this equal to texture. This is a function inside of the shader language, and this function takes it basically accesses a pixel on the texture, and we have to tell it which texture we're going to access. Well, that is texture, everything uppercase. This texture that we're telling it which texture we want to access, this is basically this function goes to our sprite, and it goes to a texture, which in this case is going to be our sprite, and it looks at a specific point on that sprite, and that's the next thing we have to pass in is the UV value, which is just kind of like an XY position on this sprite, and it will give us the color at that specific position on this texture. So this is the color of our current image here. This right here, this previous color, is actually the color. And so if we set color here, it's easiest to just show you. If we set our color equal to previous color, you can see that our shader, what it does here is it steps through each pixel, and it says what color is on at this pixel, what color is this pixel at this position.
So as I understand, the function fragment called for every single pixel in the sprite. So it's like run it in the loop for every single pixel.
Position.
Maybe I'm wrong.
It says, oh, that's clear. It's transparent. It goes through each one until it finally gets down to here, and it goes, oh, this one's actually black. So then it sets it to black, and then it goes through each. This is each individual, like I said, this function gets run on every single pixel, and each time it gets run, it gets the exact color of that pixel and sets the output color to the color that was already there. So this shader literally does nothing except get the color that was there and set that to our new output. Well, we don't want that. We want to have our own mixture of the two, right? We want to be able to mix the alpha value that we have with the white color that we want. So we'll do vec4 here. Make a new color, white color. And we'll set this equal to vector 4. And the first three values will just be 1.0, 1.0, 1.0. Okay?
No.
But for the alpha, we want to use the previous color alpha so that it's not transparent when we're on the image, but it is transparent when we're out here. So we're going to do previous color dot A. You can see it's got all of these different ones here. We've got red, green. We scroll down. We've got red, green. Well, this isn't showing. Since it's a vector 4, it's just giving it variables here. But we can do A for alpha here. Okay? And then do a semicolon. So basically, that will select the alpha value of this color. And then instead of setting our output to previous color, we'll set it to white color. And now we get a white.
It is working!
Like this, it's completely white. So we can set this, we want to be able to control this shader with the animation player. And the way that you can do that is by using what's called a uniform variable. And so a uniform is kind of like, how in our player we did export variables up here?
Yeah.
We can export a variable and that would allow Boolean, so it's going to be either true or false. And we'll set active equals true. Okay, so we're creating a uniform value here. That means when we're inside of our shader, we can actually see that value. So if we come to our player sprite right here, and we come down to our material, if you come to shader parameters right here, you can see the active variable and we can turn it on and off. But we need to make it so that this active variable is used to set us either to flash white or not. And there's ways to optimize this, but I'm intentionally going for the simplest method that is slightly less optimized, because you really shouldn't you want to avoid using if statements inside of shaders. But in this case, it'll be fine. I'm going for the simple version here. We're going to create a new vector for here called new color. And by default, we'll set this equal to previous color. And then our output will set to new color. Right?
And
so
what's the point?
that's going to make it so that our shader is just showing the value.
Oh, okay,
that
yeah, I see.
the colors that it was set to before, because we get the colors right here. We set our new color equal to those, and then we just output our new color. But we can add an if statement here. We can say if parentheses active is equal to true, right? If active is true here, then
the new
we can
color
set new color equal
is
to
white color.
White color. And do a semicolon. Okay, there. So now when active is true, and let's set it to false by default. When active is true, our shader will, let's save. Wait, what?
Nice,
Oh,
nice.
I selected active over here, so that's overwriting it. If we do that, it will set it back to what it was before. But if active is true, then it will use our white color. If it's false, then it will just default to the previous color like we set up here. Pixel, and you learn a little bit more about getting return values and stuff. It's not too bad. Godot also has a visual shading language, which is pretty good, but I tend to prefer just programming and not using visual languages personally, visual scripting languages, but you can try that out if you want to instead, if you want to give that a try. Now that we have this set up, we can come back into our blink animation player, and we'll set our start animation to loop here. And on the first frame, we click on our sprite, we can key active as true. And then our next frame, we can uncheck active and key that. Okay, so now if we run this, our character blinks, just like what we want, right? And we want to come to our stop animation, and on the very first frame, we'll just key active as false. There we go, we'll save that. Now we can come into our player script, and we can get access to our new animation player. On ready, var blink animation player equals blink animation player, like that. Let's clear this, get rid of our output. We can come down here, and once we could set the blink animation player here manually, but
hello. Potato tomatoes. Right shenanigans. Hello everyone. Yeah, hello. Pomato.
If you remember, inside of our hurt box, we actually set up some nice signals. Invincibility ended and
Tomorrow's craftsman. Thanks for the following. Thanks for the follow.
invincibility started. So let's use these to activate our blink animation player. So double click on invincibility started.
Oh, come on. I forgot what I was working on. Yeah, I see. Potato equals tomato. Yeah. Well, it's interesting view on the life, I would say.
Some nice signals. Invincibility.
Come on.
Inside of our hurt box, we actually set up some nice signals. Invincibility ended and invincibility started. So let's use these to activate our blink animation.
Yeah, as you can see, it's the last part of this action RPG, but yesterday I started working on the moving the animation, actually my player from from the Unity prototype to Godot. So yeah, we'll show you later. Not today, maybe next stream, because this will be ended, but yeah.
Double click on invincibility started, connect that to the player.
Invincibility, where it's hurt box. Should we connect it one more time? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, Casper. That's cool. I mean, yeah, I almost finished this tutorial, but when I was trying to place a player on the ground, and it was just going down through, so I set up the colliders both on the ground and on the player, and the player was just going through the collider and going all the way down. I was like, I mean, I just learned something. Why I can't use it? I mean, just going through tutorial, it doesn't work. Like, you need to actually learn and then apply this somewhere. So yeah, hello Hithouse. As I said, I will be prototyping. I will be moving my prototype from Unity to Godot. So I hope I will start this week actually, because this is the last tutorial, and I think there is like one bonus episode, so maybe I will finish it like off the stream. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I checked collision, so I just forgot that the when you add in the collision shape, it should be, so you can add it on the area 2D and on some other types of nodes, so not like to any node. That was a mistake because I just created, I probably should use node 2D. Yeah, not sure what should I use. Well, yeah, we'll choose node 2D. So yeah, about the prototype. So I actually want to prototype some platformer mechanics, but it would be not like classic platformer. It would be more action adventure, I would say. So one of my references is the game Never Song. Yeah, let me show you. Yeah, I think you can see it this way. So let me put it somewhere here. So this is like one of the references that I use for the project, at least the visual stuff. But I think there is a better level to show you. And by the way, I updated to the Godot 3.5.
Player. And you'll see they're already connected, but they're actually connected to the hurtbox itself. So now we're connecting them to the player.
Okay.
And inside of here, we can say blink animation player dot play start. And then right here, we'll say blink animation player dot play stop. So it'll start blinking once we trigger the invincibility, and it'll stop once our invincibility is over.
No.
There you go. It doesn't actually.
I think. Okay, start, stop. Yeah, that's fine.
trigger for our bats. It doesn't actually, there you go. It doesn't actually trigger for our bats. So let's, I actually want to give the player just a little bit more invincibility too. Let's do 0.6 here. So the player's got a slightly longer amount of time that the player is invincible. So let's do it for our bats too. And part of the reason I want to do it with the bats is because it introduces a new problem that I think is really important to talk about. So let's bring up the bat here.
Oh, nice.
And inside of our bat, we're going to add another animation player. This is the first one inside of the bat, actually. And we'll just do onReady var.
Hold on, I have a small problem. No. By the way, is like the integration of C# in the Godot is like really good? Or you still need to do a lot of stuff to make it work? Because that's what I heard. Like the GDScript is more like help you to do like more magic than the C# and other languages. So is it hard to switch to C#? Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what I heard. Like it's much easier to use GDScript. Much easier.
Animation player equals animation.
Uh, animation player.
Animation player. There we go. Got access to it. We'll do the same thing where we create two new animations. Start, 0.2, new, stop. Make this in 0.1. There we go. And now that we have those, we can come into our animated sprite, come over, and we can do a new material. We'll select shader material, click on that. Where we have a shader here, we can just come drag our white color shader and drop it right here. And then we can get access to the shader parameter here, and we can come down into our animation player. However, when we click on the animation player, and we can come down in.
Okay. Sprite, where is
to our, and then here we can just come shader material, click on that. Where we have a shader.
nice. Yeah, thank you, Erox, for the raid, and yeah, good luck. See you.
Shader here, we can just come drag our white color shader and drop it right here. And then we can get access to the shader parameter here, and we can come down into our animation player. However, when we click on the animation player, it gets rid of all the properties that we need for our shader parameter, right? If we click on the animated sprite, it then gets rid of our animation player. So you actually have to click down here on animation while you're on the animated sprite. That way you can have access to key the values here. So for start, we'll activate it and key it.
Hold on. Animated sprite, shader program, now here. Yes, zip files. Well, that's good. That's good that there is something you can do with C# without recompiling every single piece that you use.
Yeah. Then go over one frame and key it off. Make sure to set this one to loop. And for stop, we'll just key it as off, like this. Okay? And we'll come into our bats code here. And when the bat gets hit on hurtbox entered right here, oh, this, good. This reminded me of something actually. Okay, I just don't want to forget about it. But what we need to do here is we need to do hurtbox.start invincibility. And for the bat, we'll do 0.3, I think. 0.3 should be maybe 0.4 for the bat's invincibility. And so we're starting.
Yeah, Heartbeast is awesome. I checked the latest videos on his channel, and looks like he almost finished another tutorial, another platformer tutorial, which should be also great for beginners.
Starting the invincibility on the bat when it gets hit for 0.4 seconds. And then we can come into our bat's hurt box. And we can connect those same signals, invincibility started, and invincibility ended, to the bat. And we can do animation player dot play start, animation player dot play stop. So we're linking our linking the blinking to the invincibility frames. And so I've just decided to do that. You don't have to do that. But here's the problem that comes up. When I hit one bat,
it's
they all blink.
What's happening?
They all blink. Watch. So why is that?
And it's
Why do
only
they all
one
blink?
of them.
Well, Godot actually shares resources through scene. So we've got our bat scene here.
Oh shit, I'm dead.
And we've got our animated sprite, right?
But why? I mean, what's going on? Animation sprite. I mean, all fine here. Casper Dragon Wolf, thanks for the following. Oh, you're doing it in C#? So you actually doing the the separate work scripting in C#, or the Heartbeast also providing like info in a C#? That's just quite interesting.
Sprite is shared between all the bats.
Oh, that's nice. Is it actually hard? Like, it'd be nice to try. What the hell? No, yeah, makes sense. It's always the API. I mean, I have I have experience programming on so many languages actually. So yeah, but the learning the API or like stdlib and stuff, it's always harder.
If we make a change to this sprite, it will change all the bats. That's the same with our shader. So if we activate the parameter here, it will activate it for every single bat. And that is done as a way to optimize your game, right? Obviously, if you can share a resource, if the resource doesn't need to be unique, then you want to share that resource to optimize your game so you're not wasting that memory. So if we come into here though, inside of our bats animated sprite, we can see that there is a resource drop down here, and we can click on that and we can check local to scene. And what that means is that it will actually create a new shader for every single one of a new shader resource for each of these bats. It will instance a brand new one. That way, when we activate that shader, we get it only one of the bats blinks.
No.
Because the shader is local to that bat's scene. And that's a really important thing to know and to understand so that you are able to use that, right? By default, it's good that this is turned off, but there are certain situations like this one where you want it to be on, where you want them each to have their own copy of the shader. So the other thing that I wanted to do, and this is really good, I forgot about this. Somebody else noticed this and made a comment about it. But inside of the player, when the player takes damage here, we're actually still just subtracting 1, which means even if the bats did 2 damage, the player would still only be subtracting 1 health here, which is different from our bats, which is saying area.damage.
Something for you to take a look at. Godot Manager. What is Godot Manager? The mobile tool for the engine version. Okay, so it's like a manager for. Oh, the YouTube tutorials, demos. That's awesome. But what else? Can you use it for like having multiple versions of the same Godot? Oh yeah, so it's like Unity Hub. Yeah, that's good then. Oh yeah, I see. You have like installed versions available to download. Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Casper. That's actually nice. Nanoblit. Yes, I'm a programmer. I actually software developer, but I don't work in game dev. I work like in regular IT company. So not regular actually, but anyway, I'm software developer. So yeah. That's nice. I will try to use it, Casper.
Right? Which basically gets the damage amount on the hitbox, because the area is the hitbox here. So inside of our player, we need to do status.health minus equals area.damage. And remember when we actually had this underscore here? Remember when we had the warning? If we'd actually looked at our code here closer, that warning would have said to us, wait a minute, you're passing in a hitbox here that has a damage amount, but you're not using it. And so warnings like that can actually help you to find issues in your code that aren't necessarily error messages, but could potentially be bugs still. So even though these warnings can sometimes be annoying, we can always we can always come and add and ignore when we need to. Like for this one right here.
Yeah, working on a version 0.2, okay, which have external download, so you'll be able to get alphas, betas, and such. Yeah, that's pretty cool. No, I need to show everyone. So it's actually here. And it's pretty awesome. So yeah, nice job. Have you available on GitHub? That's nice. Oh, oh, you have 93 stars. That's awesome. I mean, my top stars on the GitHub is like 15 on some Rust library that I wrote. This is cool. You're using C# to develop this stuff. Is it like integrated, or are you using some parts of Godot UI or something like that? Because it's pretty similar, I would say. At least style is pretty similar to the Godot. Oh, cool.
We don't need the area. For this one right here, we don't need the body. For this one right here, we don't need to return a value, so we can ignore both of those. You can see it adds a little comment to make sure that it's ignored. And then when we run our game, we should no longer get any messages like that. And now our player should be able to take more damage if the enemies deal more damage to us. So that's going to be it for this series. Man, I really had a lot of fun with this series. I learned a lot, and hopefully you guys learned a lot with me as we were going through it, version of Gameless. So, but I'm back in the black now. We're doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I think we finished this one. We almost finished it. There is a bonus section though. It's quite small, but I need to understand why my like why this is happening. Can I check remote world and then where is player sort and then sprite and then check the shader. Can I check the shader? It's not active. Okay, it's not active. Why you white? Why are you white? Okay, can we check animation player? This one. Don't state now. Well, how confident do you feel now after the first tutorial? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not that confident. I still think like I don't know much, and I still think like it's. Oh, crap. Sorry. It's still so not that confident, to be honest. But yeah, I guess when you're just going through the tutorial, you need to spend some time actually to remembering the stuff that you're doing. So maybe when I will be working on my own stuff and I will need to, like, for example, like I need to understand how to do this skeletons and skeletal animation. So I will find the tutorial or find the example and will be doing exactly what I need to do. So maybe in this case it would be faster and more proficient. but still, like, I learned a lot. Not all of them. I'm not all of them I remembered, but yeah, that's still a good way to learn stuff. So it looks like it's just active by default. Yeah, I already into Reddit, Godot subreddit. Oh, you have a Discord? Yeah, you can send the link here in the chat. That would be nice. Don't get it. Oh, okay. Because active true here, but it should be false. Okay, cool. Thank you for the link. I need to actually create an account because I don't want to use my personal one. I need to create an account like from the channel. So maybe in future I will create a own Discord channel. Oh. But I mean, uh, yeah, we'll see because I only have like 22 followers now. So, uh, yeah. But there is also a official Godot Discord, which is quite huge. I was impressed by size of that community. It's Oh, come on. I mean, what is wrong with you? Should I rebuild it somehow? Or, I mean, I saved it. It's not active. It's false. But, if it's uniform pool, then it's still overridden somewhere. We got a big boost in developers coming from Unity recently with everything's going on. Yeah, that's actually how I plan to switch to Godot. Like I was prototyping in Unity, and I look like yeah, in the editor it's false, and in the sprite it's also not turned on. I don't understand why this is happening. Where go? There you go. Okay, and I think I already ran out of time, so on the player sprite, yeah, on the player sprite it's turned off. It's turned off anyway. Anyway, thank you for the stream. Yeah, and if you don't mind, I would like to raid someone. Uh, Maybe we can raid someone. Look at the shader again. No sound. Okay, this is shader parameters. It's active, turned off. Raid potato. Yes, potato, tomato. Okay, it's turned off here, and the shader. It's also false here. So like, and the weirdest thing about this one is that the bat. Okay, now it's active here. Why the fuck are you active? Oh, this is sucks. This is sucks then. Oh, the pirate software is here. Well, we can raid pirate software. It would be weird. But I love this guy, actually.
My voice is so
And yeah, I will continue debugging probably later, maybe this evening or tomorrow. But yeah, I think let's just let's just raid. Raid. I think we need to raid someone small. Because pirate software is like have hell a lot of the streamers. No Godot. Come on, that would be fun. Are you ready to raid pirate software? Nice. Okay, then it was a nice stream. Thank you guys for coming to my channel. Did you were your instance the child seen into? Also check the player and check the level scene that you put him into, because it's in values. Yeah, makes sense. And the check animation player, because I believe that is where the value is being changed. Check your start point and make sure it's... Oh no, the start point is actually starting from the true and then it's false. Maybe I need to switch that into different, like just swap. But yeah, thank you. Thank you, Casper. And yeah, see you all guys soon. And I'm stopping my stream. Bye all.